Hi guys, Rhonda without an H here with you. I have another Christmas in July gift giving idea for you today. We are making coasters. And by coasters, I mean those little round or square or whatever shape they are that you set down to put a drink on. Your water. This is my water. Anyway, so to get started, and I'll be off and on here. I don't do as well when I'm trying to take you specifically on my journey, just because my filming skills, as you know, are not fabulous. But I try. Okay, so first of all, to make one coaster, you will need 6 pieces of fabric, 4.5-inch squares, 2 of each color. You can do 2 of 3 different colors, or you can do 4 and 4. But anyway, so I am cutting strips of my fabric. I'm doing Christmas, so I'm cutting strips 4.5 inches wide, and then I will cross cut them to make my squares. So mine are going to be made from these 2 colors. They both have a gold thread that's really pretty and shiny. So, okay, I'll give you more information. We'll talk more about that in a minute, but that's the first step, is to cut your fabrics. Okay, I am here with my prepared pieces of fabric and batting to go ahead and make the coasters. This is what, to make 4 coasters, this is what you're going to need. You're going to need 8 4.5-inch squares of color 1. You'll need 8 4.5-inch squares of color 2, 8 4.5-inch squares of color 3, and 4 4-inch squares of batting or wadding. I'm not sure from country to country what they call that, but that's what you're going to need. So let me show you what I've done. These are the squares of batting that I'm using. I'm using a Warm and White. Warm and Natural would be good. Just a thin, you don't want a real fat piece of batting. So I've got that, and I have my 8 4.5-inch squares. I'm using, excuse me, I'm using color 2 as also color 3. So that's why you only see 2 colors. And the reason I'm doing that is simply because right at this videotaping, I only have 2 Christmas colors that I want to use. You know, not any other rhyme or reason, just that's what I had. So that's what I'm going with. So, and these you don't fold in half and iron. I should say press. Iron indicates with your iron you're kind of doing this. And in quilting and stitching and that kind of thing, doing this to fabric stretches it out of place. So you're really pressing it up and down, so that your fabric doesn't get warped out of shape. Okay, so I have, as you can see, I have folded in half my color 1 and color 2 fabrics. Just a nice straight fold. Okay, so let's go ahead and put one together just to show you what we do. It's very simple. I put one face right side down. I bring a piece of batting I center it in the middle. I bring another piece, so, and right side facing up. So if you look at it, you've got right sides on both the front and the back. So I do that. Next, and always remember when you're doing these particular coasters, you want the fold side to the middle. Fold side to the middle. If you don't, it won't work. It'll be a mess. So that's the only difficult part, and that's really not difficult. So we line it up, edges to these edges. And then we get this, and we line it up, remembering to keep your folds to the middle. So we've got that, folds to the middle, and we will bring this last one, and we just kind of flip this up and flip that underneath. So then we have this cute little square. So if you're a little bit unfamiliar with, you can certainly pin these for stability in helping you. And I will just put a pin through all these layers. And the idea, the reason that the batting is cut 1/4 of an inch, well, it's 1/2 inch smaller, but when you center it, that makes it 1/4 of an inch, and our seam line is going to be, we're going to stitch 1/4 of an inch. We'll stitch and then we'll turn, and we'll stitch and we'll turn, and we'll stitch and we'll turn. And I use a stylus to help me when I'm stitching to hold it in place. Let me get my camera set up a little bit differently, and I'll show you basically what I do with that so you can see that part of it, and then we'll be back. Okay, I think you can see that. We'll just we'll give that a try. I am setting my machine at, I'm going to do a 2.4 stitch, and I'm using a 1/4 inch foot. For those of you that maybe aren't familiar with that, this is what it looks like, and this gives you a guide so that your stitching is even. So we will go ahead and hook that back up. Okay. I don't know if you'll be able to see this perfectly, but I just kind of ease it in and keep my stylus here so I'm not pushing my fabric in a wrong direction. And then I just come around, and I'm going to start at the other side, the other edge, and continue on. You can put more pins if you like. And there, see, did you hear that squeak? I need to get my sewing machine into, it needs to be detailed. You know, like a car gets detailed, it gets all cleaned up and gone through and made shiny new. Well, that's what my machine needs, is to be made shiny new by a really good cleaning. And I just haven't taken the time and effort yet to do that. So here we go. Stitch, stitch, stitch. Okay. Okay, so you can see what I've done. And if you feel like you've done it real poorly, you know, you've been kind of squeewampish, just go ahead and, you know, restitch restitch your seams. So let me reposition the camera again and we'll be back. Okay, so now what we want to do, I'm going to take these pins out, put them back in my pin cushion, and I want to trim, and I'll bring this up close so you can see what I'm doing here. I am trimming the corner off, which cuts my threads, but as you can see, I am not going through the stitching line. You don't want to take a chance and cut through your stitching. So we will just trim off each of these 4 corners. Okay. And then it's just a matter of turning. We're going to turn this little puppy inside out. And this is really fun. This is just a great, fun beginning type of a project. And I'm just pushing my thumb in there in the corners. You can see, just to kind of pull that out a little bit. It's just a matter of sort of wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And then what I do is I get a bone folder. You can use other things, but whatever you get, don't get it super, super sharp, because you can pop through your fabric and make holes, and you don't want to do that. So I just take a little bit of time, just kind of ease that in and push out my corners. Boop, boop, boop. And I can hear outside, I have got like ravens or crows, and they just have this caw, caw. Drives me nuts. I love the sweet little birds, but I'm not crazy about ravens and crows. I think it's probably crows, because I understand raven's a very big bird. Or maybe it's magpies. That's probably what it is. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to push out my edges. I just kind of feel that and roll to pull that out. Okay, and then I'm going to take it to my ironing board, and I'm sorry I can't show you that, but if you'll hang on for just a minute, I will be right back, and we will continue with this. Okay, now I can show you. Let's move that in a little bit closer so you can really see. I've stay stitched. What I did was I pressed this, like I showed you. Remember, you press down. Okay, let's move that back out again. Whoops, wrong way. Anyway, so I pressed it down, and then I took this to my sewing machine, and I stitched all the way around the edge to stay stitched, to hold that in nicely. And this time I didn't go clear through each side. I went and pivoted my fabric, turned it around so that I could keep it down, and you can see how nice that looks on the back. So this would be, if I had used the 3 different fabrics, this would be a different color than these 2. But you can see how it works really well with the 2 as well. So it just gives you some different choices to do. And I would recommend, for those of you that have never done this, that you try this one first. And when you get comfortable with that, then you might want to try something a little bit different. And I have, these are a lot of fun too. It's the same principle, only in your square, instead of ironing your fabric like this, you would iron your fabric corner to corner. And then with the same principle of fold to the center, then you would go like this, and then you just go in each corner and do your other color, and etc., etc. And that is a fun way to do it too. But I will tell you that the corners, because of the folds, they're right on the corner. It's a little more tricky. But for those of you that sew and quilt and that kind of thing, not a big deal. And even for the rest of you, it's certainly a doable, fun thing to do. It's just you have to be a little more careful as you're stitching. Anyway, there we have it. Another gift idea for you. Christmas in July. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me. Have a fabulous day. Bye now.